This week, we're talking repurposed consumerism and Greece's future with artist Lane Collage, plus Anthony Freda drops some knowledge for political artists. Next, it's about time we started paying attention to Congress. Here are your Cliff's Notes. Finally, it's a bummer that Ben and Jennifer broke up, but we really need to be focusing on ALEC. But first, let's take a train ride through the progress of our time. I watched a train hit a butterfly. Jet-lagged and numb, my mind sagging and dumb, I found this creature on a gray day captivating. Airy and light against the dark and hard steel, I stole a moment to feel. Sounds blurred and muted, I followed this dance in a peaceful, soft trance, like being led on a ballroom floor, your feet barely touching, your body succumbing to this sway and that sway, trusting the way your partner will take. Inspired by this random encounter, and just as a smile spread across my face, a train sliced through this space, barreling bold like the cold-hearted progress it drove. Still on the platform, scanning the tracks, like a lover whose eyes got a glimpse of raw passion, I soon came to see that all I had seen had now passed. What a metaphor for life, the beauty, the strife, what a parallel to our tear through the world we all share. What a potent piece of this paradise lost, so perfectly placed as I smiled once more and stepped on the train. Once inside, the shaking sight slid down a sleepy synapse simmering. My mind's eye ensnared by a new scene, a countryside where neither bitter nor sweet are rare. Beauty and greed can't see the forest, but not for the trees, but the crooked steel beams now keeping the peace. Behind barbed wire fences, our underpaid senses are told to enjoy what we've got. Prisons like lesions on suffering skin, just a small taste of the sickness within. Lakes, rivers, take what you find, leave nothing behind but the stench of a greed never quenched. For sale signs on boarded up windows, the proud open since line sighs from a faraway time when buy local wasn't a slogan, American made, not just a name to toss up in speeches, hoping the legions will believe we can get there again, and we could. But not on this path. This progression, a progress obsession has taken us down, never up. A runaway train, mainlining madness, side effect sadness, taking the pills only make you more ill. And don't say it doesn't faze you. Not your problem, because this ain't your town, your street. And if they just worked harder, become a self-starter, I wouldn't need to plead their case. Past these towns, how could you think, believe, that the crumbling old, dilapidated cold is all because you're better than them? That life dealt no favor, no gold, silver ladle to all those who'll never need know what it's like to be low. That you're simply special, or your brand of hard work is harder than theirs. And after so many years of blood, sweat, and tears, they're still at the bottom and you at the top. Nothing trickled down, only up moved up. But out of this window, a sick, twisted ride, serpentine on the left and the right, you'll see all that could be and all that once was. An American dream ripped at the seams, torn, broken, beat. Like a butterfly on train tracks, a sad side effect of progress. Get off the train. From tweets to marching in the streets, this is Act Out. Welcome to Act Out. I'm Eleanor Goldfield, and this is your tipping point, and it's really loud today, so I apologize. Progress seems to be a bit like treason. It really depends which side you're on. For example, it's in the name of progress that our president and about 600 corporate lawyers are negotiating a multinational trade deal whose only leaked chapters speak of little trade, certainly no deal for the 99%. It's in the name of treason that Edward Snowden is sitting thousands of miles away from home after informing the public that our government took George Orwell's 1984 as a training guide. And it is in the name of progress that the Eurozone has squeezed and bled countries like Greece, claiming that austerity is the only way forwards in the current economic system. Well, that might be true, but then the question really is, if gutting a country's livelihood, starving their social programs and people is the only way that your economic system can sustain itself, why don't you just change the fucking system? After 5 years of austerity, the answer to that question has begun to surface. For those of you following us, or really anyone else on social media, you will have noticed that last week Greece voted Oxy, aka no, to increased austerity, a move that leaves their future in the Eurozone hanging by a gossamer thread, as The Guardian so eloquently put it. Gossamer thread or no, the fact that European capitalists were unable to fearmonger the Greek people into submission is significant. The fact that the Greek people have stood up and said enough is incredibly significant. By no means is the road ahead easy or clear. If Greece does leave the Eurozone, it could wreak havoc on their own economy, and such a crash would send more than a few lapping ripples through the rest of Europe. On the other hand, if they stay, some sort of compromise and negotiations must be met and made. So how do the anti-capitalists negotiate with the uber-capitalists? How does progress for the people continue its fight against progress for the rich sociopaths? That remains to be seen. Even as we film this, people are shuffling and scrambling, and by the time you watch this, some agreements might already have been made. And for fuck's sake, we gotta pay attention. Greece might feel like some distant country best known for ouzo and naked Olympians, but it is in fact like the damn butterfly, a metaphor, a really stark and straight parallel to our country. To the fight against capitalist cronies, to the power of the people, to the danger of apathy in the midst of a fucking liquidation of rights, livelihoods, and futures. But hell, don't take that from only me. I'm just as much of an outsider as you are. Here to tell us a bit more about what's happening in Greece, the parallels, implications, and meaning of it all, is artist Lane Collage, an aptly titled collage artist whose amazing collages first caught my eye long before I heard talk of a Greek referendum. Her expert ability to take tiny pieces of ads, vapid marketing, and mindless consumerism, and turn them into something powerfully beautiful, soaked in meaning and contemplation, is fucking awesome. Originally, I considered showing you her art interview separate from the political one, and then realized, well, that's absurd. Isn't this a show about creative activism? And although her art is not your typical overtly political fare, her use of these sliced bits of consumerism, coupled with her clear awareness of politics, speaks perfectly to the idea that creative activism isn't always overt. It isn't always a slap in the face. It can be a rainy walk through the city. Take a look. So you take these pieces from ads. So you're literally making art from advertising. So the way that I see it, and I wanted to see if this is what you meant by it, you're repurposing these advertisements for, mindless things like bags and clothes. You're repurposing it and making it into something that is meaningful and deeper. Is that part of the message there?
Well, my message is how can I put this? I try to use different shapes of pieces, different shades of colors, because when we see each piece, it's unique and original from the just one. But when you look the whole picture, then you can understand the uniformity and the balance that comes off. It's the same with our lives. We don't have to be the same and boring persons every day. We have to be multicolored, multidimensional. That's what I'm trying to imprint in my work.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating that you put out that message of multi-dimensional by using something that's very flat, single dimension, and obviously like the idea of consumerism is very vapid and flat, and you're creating something far more deep by doing that. Is there anything that you've seen in the recent events in because you're Greek, is there anything that you've seen in the recent events in Greece that have inspired any ideas for collages?
Right now, I'm making collages based in people that you meet out in the street. For example, like a musician. When you see a musician in the street playing a guitar or another instrument, you barely see people dancing around him. They were all walking and nobody paid attention to the music. So I have a a specific collage like this with a musician, and I changed it. I made around the musician people dancing. So I try to imprint in the collage what I would like to see. And I'm in the start of that, so I have to make more works about that now. This is what I'm working now.
So I was wondering what other ideas do you have besides the musician in terms of things that you'd like to see out in the streets, so to speak?
Homeless, kids, uh, lovers, uh, activists, protests.
Speaking of activists and protests, have you talk a little bit about what's been happening in Greece right now because you're obviously there. How is it to actually be in the thick of it, so to speak?
Well, the problem with Greece, I like to speak about that. Okay. Um, the problem in Greece started when Greece entered the monetary union of euro. So Greece didn't fulfill the requirements for that. The Greek government back then knew it. The European partners knew it, but they didn't stop it. Why? So it's very easy to speak about the Greek problem, especially when someone lives very far from Greece. I think my opinion is that the banks wrecked the Greek government and deliberately pushed it to debt, to unsustainable debt, so that the international corporations can profit from this chaos and misery that we are living now. These loans are not just simple loans. They are loans that come with very specific strings attached with that demand privatization. Is that right? Privatization of our country assets, and Greece has many unexploited assets. Last Sunday we had a referendum when, for the first time, a Greek government asked the people, us, to vote if we want to have more austerity in our country or no. And 61% of the people voted for no. And this referendum was really it was something good because for the first time, people powered has happened here in Greece, and this doesn't happen often.
No, and it's been very inspiring to people all over the world that the people can rise up and say what they want against like you said these international corporations that are pushing Greece into debt and well the U.S. and so many other countries as well. What's happening next in terms of the people? What are the people asking for next, and what's the next step?
The next step is up to our government. We just don't agree with more austerity. We have tried austerity. We have listened to German, to our European partners. Austerity doesn't work. It's very stupid to believe that austerity can save Greece because until now, austerity doesn't seem to reduce debt. Actually, it has the opposite results. You know, the last 6 years, Greece has experienced various degrees of austerity. That means that 25% people are unemployed. More than 10,000 people have committed suicide because they couldn't handle this situation. So we want something alternative from austerity. This government seems to have alternative solutions, but our European partners don't want to discuss them. I don't know why.
Well, because they're getting their money from the corporations and don't want to let go of that power.
Yes, I believe that too. So always the poor uh, become poorer and the rich become richer. That's always the same, I think, in every country, not only Greece. It's Spain, it's Portugal, it's Ireland. There are a lot of countries. And I want to be fair. Um, no, the European Union has made a lot of problems were caused by the behavior of the European Union. But as I told you, I want to be fair, so I have to tell you that Greek people have made mistakes too. For example, Greek citizens voted for many years corrupted politicians. Young people were apathetic with politics. A lot of them, most of them, preferred not to vote. Journalists knew that this economical crisis was coming and they didn't speak about it. So, in other words, we fell asleep as a nation. And when you fell asleep in a democracy, you woke up one day and you have to deal with an economical crisis.
Yeah, and not just an economic crisis, but a social crisis, as you mentioned, with unemployment and people committing suicide. And I think that's a great parallel to what you're seeing in the States, people falling asleep. And it's a powerful message of caution to see what's happened in Greece and see that's where we're headed as well.
Yes, and Greece problem is not so far from other countries. So if I have to give an advice to other citizens, is be active. Uh, don't think that this is so far away from your country. It can happen to any country if you stay apathetic with politics.
Before moving on, here is this week's latest update from Lane.
For more information on Lane's work, check out lanecollage.gr. As I brought up before the interview, political artists aren't always political in their work, nor do they have to be. Not all my songs are political, and as Anthony Freda pointed out in our interview with him, Picasso's Guernica was incredibly political, but the bulk of his work was considered apolitical, or at the very least, less overtly political. And speaking of Anthony Freda and political artists, here are 4 tips from the man himself on how to get that political art piece out of the ether and onto the page, or computer, or wall, or wherever it may land. Graphically illustrated with pro tips and tricks, this should be more than enough to get you started. Take a look. To stay up to date on his work and commentary, check out AnthonyFreda.com. Also check out our interview with him from New York. Moving on, one of the requisites of being a political artist, or really just someone who is aware of what's going on around them, like that siren, The antithesis to the apathetic masses that Lane mentioned in her interview is, of course, to know what the hell your government is up to. And even me, someone who ingests more news than food, finds it pretty fucking droll at times. And of course, the powers that be are fine with this mindset. The more boring they make it, the less we pay attention, and the more likely it is that things like the TPP will pass. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we get ourselves to pay attention to all the boring shit that's going on so as to be active and aware participants in our present and future? There's got to be a way to engage in the everyday. So yeah, no one's going to actively seek out House or Senate resolutions through Google or checking out usgov.gov, because that's not even a site. And even if you did make it to the actual page where they list these things, who the fuck has the time and energy to read through it all? Our lawmakers don't even take the time. They have aides and interns do that shit and then give them bullet points like, this will ensure the clubbing of 50,000 seals. Great, let's go to lunch. Well, a new site that's still in beta called For Us By Us, not FUBU, but the number 4 and an X, and there it is. This new site is creating that bridge between legislation and the people by providing a list of upcoming and current legislation in concise, simplified formats, complete with visuals, and how that piece of legislation is progressing through Congress. It also gives you each member of Congress's track record, so you can see where they stand on the issues that are most important to you. You can even search based on that issue that you're concerned about, from the environment to national security to immigration, etc. Furthermore, you yourself can cast your vote and then see how that aligns with your elected representatives. Not lining up? Well, then maybe they're fucking up and shouldn't be reelected. For Us By Us is the manifestation of that oft-quoted Thomas Jefferson line. An educated citizenry is a vital requisite of our survival as a free people. Side note, hashtag that as our quote of the day. So, even though the site itself is still in beta, you can go and sign up and start learning about what the hell is really going on in this country. And speaking of what's really going on in this country, let's meet this week's low-life scum.
You low-life scum.
ALEC, and I don't mean Baldwin. ALEC stands for American Legislative Exchange Council, and they are the poster child for corporatocracy, the teacher's pet of oligarchy. On the surface, ALEC is a conservative nonprofit lobby that pushes for limited government, free markets, and federalism. Why are there so many sirens today? But this is kind of like saying Dick Cheney is just some old guy who likes war movies. ALEC brings together politicians and private interests to sit around a table, munch on endangered species, and write laws for big business. Yep, ALEC provides a pay-to-play scenario where corporations pay to sit at the table with lawmakers and help them draft, write, and then vote on model bills. In other words, corporations pay to get face-to-face time with lawmakers so that they can assist them in writing bills that will buffer their bottom line. The lawmakers then take these model bills to Congress, pass them off as their own, and bam, you literally have a country of, for, and by corporations. And if you're wondering how many make it through, ALEC boasts that it serves up over 1,000 bills in state legislatures each year, and of that 1,000, 1 in 5, 20% are enacted into law. That's about 200 laws a year, presented by government officials, but actually written by, say, Exxon or Philip Morris, or how about CCA, the Corrections Corporation of America, the largest owner of for-profit prisons in the country. Yeah, for-profit prisons, because hell, we wouldn't boast 25% of the world's prison population if it only got us a medal. Although, bonus if the medal is made of pure gold. Oh, and speaking of gold, hold on to yours, because due to the fact that ALEC is a non-profit organization, these donations by big corporations are tax deductible. So you and I are literally assisting these sociopathic fucknuts in dismantling what's left of our democracy. Are you reaching for that stress ball yet? Don't worry. There is a way to channel that seething anger towards that nearly unparalleled dipshittedness displayed by ALEC. Next week, ALEC will be hosting their annual meeting in San Diego, and while they may be looking forward to a fun-in-the-sun, oil spill slip-inside kind of retreat, activists are planning a little bit of a different welcome party. Here to tell us more about it is activist and anti-media founder Nick Bernabe.
We're standing up against ALEC here in San Diego because they're having one of their annual meetings here starts on July 22nd. And it's going to run for a couple days. And every day we're going to be out there kind of letting them know that the people are kind of on to what's going on, because ALEC is also a pretty secretive group. Not many people know who they are. And, fortunately, there was a couple activists here in San Diego that found out that they were going to be here. And so we've been working pretty hard ever since to try to get some kind of united front together to show them that there's an opposition to what they're doing, and that we're not just going to continue to allow this to happen and allow our, supposed democratic system to be co-opted by, corporate interests.
So what exactly is planned? Are you guys going to be occupying for those few days, or are you going to be doing actions just during the day?
We're going to start off the night before on the 21st with a press conference, and we're going to have some members of the media there to talk about our action and why we're going to oppose it. We're also going to have some really cool visuals that really simply show what ALEC does so that people can get a grip on it, because it is really kind of an arcane process, and it's kind of one of those things where people aren't very concerned about this really boring thing, these meetings between corporations and government. But the problem is that these are really influential, meetings that go on, and they could dictate legislation for the coming years and in the coming elections, and it can have pretty major implications. So that's why we're opposing it. The day that the meeting starts, which is on the 22nd, we're planning a big rally, and then we're going to march to the hotel where it's being held, and we're hoping to disrupt the meeting. I can't go into exact detail about what we're going to do, just because we don't want to give away our plans to the security there and all that stuff. But the main thing that we're hoping to do is, first of all, spread awareness about what ALEC is to the public, and then also let the people know, the people that are partaking in this meeting, we want to let them know that we're not standing for this anymore, and that we're on to basically this scheme that they have going on, because that's really what it is. It's a scheme. It's the legislators that are supposed to be representing us collaborating with the corporate interests that, especially now, it's so notorious that our system is being controlled by these corporate interests. So we're just trying to let them know that we're not buying it anymore, and that people more and more by the day are starting to, become aware of what's going on and are ready to start doing something about it.
So this is the action that's happening in San Diego. How could people that are outside of San Diego plug into ALEC or the anti-ALEC movement and sort of support you guys remotely?
That's a good question. We're gonna be having some hashtags coming out during the ALEC meeting, and we're hoping that it goes viral online, and maybe we can trend on Twitter or Facebook. We haven't released the hashtag yet, but keep an eye out for that. You could follow several of the, there's plenty of groups out there now that are opposed to ALEC, and they're all going to be helping us get the word out. So if even on Facebook, there's groups called Stop ALEC or ALEC Exposed. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. Is the day of the 22nd, we're going to be having rallies and marches, and we're going to be trying to disrupt it. We're going to be flying banners off of huge balloons and stuff. So it should make for a spectacle. But the main thing is that more and more people need to find out about this. And so one thing that people can do that aren't in San Diego, if you're in the Southern California area, it would be nice to actually get down to this event. Carpool or bus your way in. That would be good to help us bolster our numbers. But the other thing we can do is during the meeting is just talk about it online on social media, and just talk about it with your friends, post about it. And that's basically the best way to get the word out there, is just everyone individually, spreading the information about what ALEC is, and showing how that we shouldn't have these kind of groups doing backdoor deals with our government, because the government's not supposed to represent corporations, it's supposed to represent us.
Absolutely. So, I'm assuming that the anti-media will also have information, so we can send people there to see the hashtags and see images that they can then share.
Definitely. We're going to be covering it on the anti-media. We're going to have a story about it a few days before the event to try to, really get the word out there about it. And like I said, so many people don't even know what ALEC is. So yeah, people that are interested in it that aren't in San Diego, keep an eye on the anti-media Facebook page, and we'll include in our article about some other calls to action that you can do, from remote locations.
For more information on the event, check out their Facebook page, Stop ALEC Fest 2015. Also take a look at Nick's alternative media site, Anti-Media, at antimedia.org, and for more information on ALEC, check out alecexposed.org. And that's about all we have time for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Please spread and share this with all your friends, foes, and people you don't know. As always, check out the last slide to see all the sites that I mentioned in the show. There will also be a link to help support Occupy.com and all the delicious dissent delivered daily thanks to donations like yours. It is a 501c3, and unlike ALEC, it's actually a good 501c3, so anything you can contribute is tax deductible and hugely appreciated. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. From this crazy loud Devil's Den, good night and act out.